Sorry about that. Welcome. Sorry about the audio problems, guys. I was trying to warn you about what was going on there for a second. I'm letting everything synchronize, but I'm done here. So give me 1 second. Hello. All right, good. We got volume. All right. Looks like, let's see, make sure everything's synchronizing properly now. Yes, it is on this one. All right, let's see here. Looks like I got only one person on the mirror channel. That's all right. Wait a second. Am I on the mirror channel in both? No, there's two on the mirror channel. Oh, crap. I've got it loaded on both here. Hang on. I didn't mean to do that. You know, you guys, you're welcome to be on any ones that you want to. That's entirely up to you. But I'm just going to let you know that if you're not on the one labeled Gabriel Cruz Research Backup Mirror Channel, that's the link to it. I just placed it in the chat. If you hop over to that channel, you'll actually see your comments if you play it back later. Otherwise, the one on the Gabriel Cruz, just plain Gabriel Cruz channel, the one that you've been used to watching, I'm deleting those live streams on that channel after I do them mostly. It's just to avoid any issues with the material because it's been very aggressive. I've been having problems with the main channel, so I'm trying to avoid future issues with it. And it's just less risky if I direct as many people over to the mirror channel, where I'll start doing the vast majority of the live streams exclusively. I'll still do field reports from the main channel and things like that. That'll be a part of it. But I just want to make sure people are prepared in the event something does happen to the main channel, that part of my motivation, not just preserving the channel, but it's also just to get more people subscribed to both channels simultaneously. That way, if anything ever does happen, that, you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, losing the material. So, excuse me. All right. Just need my back massage thing here. I got really bad back aches right now. Sorry, guys. So if I'm wincing a little bit, that's why. I got to do some stretches while I'm going to be doing this. Any Foo Fighters fans? From back in the day, at least, you know. Maybe you're still a Foo Fighter fan. I don't know. I always kind of liked them. You know, I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't not enough to where I'd be willing to go pay money to see them in concert. But, you know, if I heard a song or, you know, there's a few ones that I really liked, and I was like, yeah, I can get into that one. One of the songs that I really liked by the Foo Fighters was My Hero. And that song it's resonated with me for a long time, actually. And I think that it might have been partly informed by, I don't know if any of you ever played Rock Band, the video game back in the day, where you could like be a member of the rock band. You could play guitar, you could play drums, you could sing, you know, there's all different things you could do. And then all of your friends could play different songs together. My Hero was one of them on one rendition of Rock Band, or at least it was one of the packets that you could get. That one, and it's weird, like that one and Weezer, Say It Ain't So. They both have that same kind of vibe to them, you know. They're kind of, you know, top 40 songs, and well, maybe not top 40. I don't want to like be that dismissive of their relevance, But I mean, they're radio friendly, but they're still really relevant songs, I think, that talk about this theme. There goes my hero. Like, that's the lyric I borrowed for this thing. It was from I mean, it's something that's a cliche, right? But the tune that was in the back of my mind was, "There goes my hero, watch him as he goes." It's a beautifully written song. I mean, there's something about the way that the guitar is like, I don't know there's any brain in the world that can resist getting emotionally swept into it, even if they tell you that the song is lame, or I'm only into 80s punk. I don't listen to the Foo Fighters. Yeah, but I bet you still find yourself going, "There goes my hero." I promise you. You can't help it. That's kind of Adorno's, what is it? The recognition thing, the components of recognition, patterns and whatnot. So, all right. The whole thing though with this theme I want to get into is about what's weighing some of us down, I think. And maybe, I don't know. Look, is it weighing me down? I don't like to say that it is. Let me put it this way. I'm in the process of removing those the things that have sort of anchored me into the physical reality that was designed for me, as opposed to the one that I wish to create for myself. And I try not to be that cryptic with it when it comes to speaking in terms of like, what does that mean exactly, because to the average person, it occurred to me that I've had to learn new ways of communicating things relevant to my belief systems, because I just don't think that physical reality and metaphysical things always synchronize. But that's not because they're, how do I put it? Not synchronized, but sometimes what people are doing to us within physical reality is designed to keep us anchored in the one that they are manipulating our biofields within. Does that make sense? So you have a spirit, I guess you could say. There's your individuality. There's what makes you uniquely you. And I guess that part of this is, wow, guys, I'm getting hit with some incredibly strong feelings of energy, put it that way. So it's getting a little bit challenging to think. Wow. Give me a second here. But there's people that want to keep us anchored in the physical reality that they've designed for us. So what do I even mean by that? It's like, think of your life like the same way you would have blueprints. Would you have created this blueprint for you? If not, what would you have done? And maybe instead of thinking about what would you have done, why don't you start thinking, just, like I've been trying to do, this is something that I'm working on myself. Why don't you work on creating through thought and concentration, meditation, other forms of positive orgone radiation? If you study what it is and how you can use it effectively to your advantage, I would like to break that down to an actual science-based process where you can, have almost like a method of procedure to arrive there. I don't like to talk about these things. I really not hate, I would get frustrated at the vast majority of the venues that did it. So my material, folks, like if you only watch my live material, I don't always go into the minutia of topics. And that's because I've spent hours of other, like documentary material going through the minutia of certain things. And so sometimes, yeah, like if I feel like then now's the moment, here within this material to say, oh, okay, maybe what I'm saying right now doesn't make sense to this audience, perhaps because I haven't shown them this point of reference within my material, then I'll queue up what that clip is and I'll show it to you to say, this is, perhaps why maybe what I'm talking about, I assume people that watch the channel might understand what it is or that they're familiar with it, but maybe they're not, So, it occurred to me sometimes I don't always like flesh out every idea here inside the chat. Like there's an assumption almost that, like somebody would have almost had to have known my history, my background, and all the documentary material and YouTube clips and the live reports that I've done for the last 5 years. Like as if, again, I think part of it's just because I tend to just spend a lot of time working on this individually. To be blunt, you guys, I mean, it's just, I don't spend that much time like attempting to do a lot of the sort of like, I guess you could say, social outreach relevant to verifying, things that I'm working on or whatever. I'm glad to, though. And when those opportunities arrive and they're beneficial, not just to me, but to whoever else is on the other side of it. Yeah. Then I'm very, I guess you could say, like I'm wanting that more. But what I've learned to do because of this whole there goes my hero thing is I think in processing that, this is why I want to talk about Ascension, that this part of the spiritual battle is to anchor us down in our cynicism and our anger and our disappointment from what's happened. And that's part of what I say when I mean physical reality anchors. Physical reality anchors is to say that part of what gets a person, quote, stuck and static and not getting to the place where they want to be next or wherever they want to go or whatever they want to do is that they've allowed on some level, and not through their fault. This is not because this is not me lecturing people going like, you're letting them do this. No, you're being, in many cases, you're being spiritually assaulted or sniped or whatever you want to say. I mean, I say both terms, guys, because there's people that I borrowed it from a Public Enemy lyric from He Got Game. I don't know where Flavor Flav got it or if he wrote it, but he says, be on the lookout for spirit snipers trying to steal your light. Be on the lookout for spirit snipers trying to steal your light. Yeah. And don't let them. And that's the thing. Like it's that's what the physical reality anchors are. It's spirit snipers trying to steal your light. It's people that I've just learned something about energetics that it doesn't have to be this way. Part of why I think behavior is manifesting like it is on planet Earth is because of the hidden aspect of orgone and the hidden aspect of the occulted science of human energy relative to ionospheric energy, relative to Earth energy, and what all that means to the universal plasma field that I personally believe is a science-based concept that we exist in. It just so happens that this science-based concept that I believe in has a perfect handshake with spirituality and religion. It does, because it explains why religion and faith and spirituality synchronize so perfectly to reality. And it's because it's almost like it's like a history repeating. I wonder sometimes, guys, if we sometimes are like thinking that what happened here on Earth is like one static reality everywhere. I don't think that's the way it happened. I think that it's actually been multiple realities that existed within this plane, and that because we were separated, we didn't have planes, meaning to say, for a long time, and we didn't have trains for a long time, and we didn't have cars for a long time. And before a person thought to jump on a horse or whatever else, or an elephant or something else like that, right? It's just every time you jump on something or get into a car or whatever, they get you someplace exponentially faster. it's an acceleration of time relative to space, right? And then once you're doing that, then I mean, I think that's time travel. I really don't think that's anything but time travel. So like, it's weird when I try to tell people like I don't necessarily believe in quote time travel, except in the sense that I think that every time you get on an airplane and go from one side of the country to another, you just experienced it. And the reason I think time travel, in my personal perspective, is anytime you within your physical body are able to achieve a rate of speed exponentially faster to what you could do on foot, because your human machine was designed to be on foot and to pass information human to human relative to your how fast you can travel on feet. And so as a human machine, when you really get down to it, a plane is like overclocking your processor. It's doing something relative to your perception of time. It's not like you really it changed your sense of space, but I would argue it's simply it's a bit of an illusion, wherein when you go up there, it's how else do I say it, guys? I think it's a little bit how we're sharing Earth as a projection and standing on it like it's physical. That's all. It's something that we've all agreed to believe in, just like space and time are shared agreements. It's a universal plasma field. So how could space and time exist? They really are. They're just shared agreements. And it's all plasma. But I don't think that that's like a hopeless thing. And I don't think that that's a reason to be cynical. And I don't think that that's a reason to be hopeless or feeling that way. To me, it's something that you have to respect. Number one, once you understand it, and then don't abuse it if you know how to bend it. And then if you know how to bend it, then I would say learn how to balance, and then you'll achieve perfection. Then you'll understand what we're all here for is as the people who get it. That's your real challenge, is to remember that it's learn from the mystics that practice some of these religions up in, like, Nepal, or like the Tibetan monks. Why are they up there? Why are they all together kind of doing something similar? Because they figured something out, like I'm talking about. But see, that's their way of doing it. That's their way of hiving and choosing a location relative to their bloodline and being in a very high point relative to the rest of the world. And then by being in the same place at the same time and having most of them share like a similar appearance and thinking similar things, they're able to achieve amazing synchronicities between each other, like magic in front of people. It's literally, I can understand why some people would almost be freaked out going to one of those places, because how do you explain the magic of what you're witnessing, especially when you see them create those mandalas, not to be confused with the mandala effect. I'm just talking about those mandalas that they make with the little dots of the color, not speaking a word, not having a map to how it should look in advance, except inside the whatever they're projecting in their mind. To me, the whole process of that is pretty fascinating. And then when you think about what that translates to within collective hive mind, and that they're really sitting up there with a lot of like Himalayan rock salt, tons and tons of salt concentrations up there. Wow. I mean, I want you to think about that. And how many people across the world are eating Himalayan salt? How many people across the world have like a Himalayan rock salt lamp and things like that? You know what I mean? It's like those are beacons. They're like the same way you can have a crystal cave like deep in some region of Mexico. And if you take a chunk out of it, then yeah, what you have is just a little bit of the resonance of that region. And, like a beacon place to place. It's pretty amazing. So, if you can understand that, that's one method of communication pathway, that the crystal operates that way because crystals respond to electromagnetics. They respond to piezoelectricity. They'll oscillate, they'll rotate, like when they're placed inside like a small like chamber. They take a tiny sliver of these really fine pieces of crystal and they stick them inside a microprocessor of a computer or a watch. And the way that they oscillate keeps the timing of the watch. It's part of the processors in general. So, if technology uses crystals for these reasons, then, ask yourself a little bit deeper, what is that reason? Like, what is the process that is being done within the microprocessor? Like, why is it in there? You don't have to be a rocket scientist on this one. It's just something where you start to ask the question, like, what's it doing in there? Oh, well, they're sending frequencies into it. Oh, I get it. What are they doing that for? Well, because it creates that timing. Oh, okay. So what's that about? And then just, it's just asking the basic questions of it. Even if you don't have a perfect answer, it's okay if you answer it on your own. But, it's one of those things that you can ponder and think about, and it'll lead you just to some much greater truths, I think. And getting back to the core topic, though, about, physical reality and what that means as far as here's what I think it is, folks. As far as that, I would say, think of whatever you're doing within the biofield. You believe in auras and that there's information within that cloud of like that floats around you, and there is. There's actually a really good documentary that, even though I don't know what to think of the organization overall, I don't really know. But they have some pretty good visuals on this that I think I would get struck, though, if I tried to play their clip, unfortunately. But they gave a whole chart about how the collective consciousness works, and showing that, yeah, there's like there's an actual calculated distance between where there's like this biofield where all this information is contained above where most people's heads are, a certain distance. And it's all relative to brainwave and amplitude and things like that, what distance it is from you. And this is like where you're getting all that information from this bio internet or biofield, all the collective hive mind. You're getting all this information that way. But, part of this human machine of yours is designed to receive earth resonance and information from the earth too. And it's very important to remember. And so I think that if you forget that component, that it's not just about like the Schumann resonance, for example, going boom, 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 boom. Well, they say if you look that up on Wikipedia, you'll find this, that it's not like it's only 7.83 hertz. That's one number. Yeah, that's like this core frequency, but it has these harmonics that keep going and going and going and going, like a rainbow at an exact amount. I can't remember what that number is. It's like, I think it goes to like 14 dB, then 22, and then 28 and 33 or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to find it on I guess I could put it up here on the screen. I just don't want to break my concentration right now. But but I think that whole thing with the Schumann resonance and everything having the harmonics to it is really where you're going to do the heavy lifting. And if you can just remember that you constantly have an outflow of plasma. It's strongest when you're first born. And the reason why is because when you're first born, you're still growing. So what your body's doing is it's outputting all the building blocks, which will stay on your physical body and remain within physical reality. But it is plasma. And it's just this accumulation that just keeps going. Boom, 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 boom. And then what that amounts to is you're perceived as, quote, older. Did you age? I mean, yeah, as far as everybody's concerned, that's what it is. It's an aging process. That's what we all call it. That's what we exist in. I mean, we're still all here, right? We all know years exist. I'm not telling you guys that, not that. I mean, to a degree, guys, we got to agree to get to places on time. And, television shows got to start sometime, and you have to have appointments that start sometime. So we can't run around entirely going, it doesn't exist. Well, sure. But it is a shared agreement. So we also have to remember that we're bringing it all into reality. So I guess the next question mark is those of us who get it, do we have to accept that reality? Do we have to accept what's here within the physical entirely, or part of what we're doing, can it be then to, when it comes to thoughts become things? then the real heavy lifting, the spiritual work, and it's getting taken seriously while doing it. I mean, partly is to understand your unique role, to meditate, to have focused concentration, just like the Tibetan monks do. Why do you think it's so important to them? Why do you think they dedicate their lives to it? Folks, I mean, why do you think some people felt the need to do that now? And the problem is that we exist within a Western culture that doesn't respect what this process is. And it thinks of it solely as an Eastern mystic religious concept. And I'm explaining to people that it's not exclusively, it's beautiful that that's the way it is, but it is also a bioenergetic science-based concept where you can literally, via outputted plasma that binds to other parts of the universal plasma field, you're increasing your influence, your vote for what you want to see happen. That's what you achieve when you're calm, when you're in a meditative state, you're in a prayer state or an orgasmic state relative to the plasma emission and what is contained within and how that travels to the rest of the biofield and how it integrates with everybody else's thoughts become things. And see again, folks, and then, why do you think people within the media become so powerful? Well, is it as simple as they have viewers and they're on television, or is it deeper than that? It's because it is deeper. The concept of what I'm saying, that's like how we perceive it. But in all actuality, no, it's all these people begin to look at the one figurehead on television, and then they're focused on them, their name, the time slot through which their television show airs in, and everything that happens within that hour all begins to, within the collective consciousness, add vibratory power to it, which translates to what within physical reality? It means that a bunch of people saw a commercial and might want to go eat a burger after seeing Burger King commercial. Or a bunch of people heard the John Doe or Jane Doe, the news anchor on, whatever news channel. And now that person is right in here and they're like, well, yes, this is a trustworthy person, but that's in the collective consciousness. And how was that occurring? What I'm saying is it doesn't just occur like because we're thinking it. This isn't some esoteric concept anymore. It's not that hidden. What's happening is literally there's this emission that's flowing out that it just dissipates. From here, it's no longer physical. It just begins to become non-physical. And just like an X-ray, just like radio frequency, you can't see that your cell phone's getting a signal, but you accept on faith that it does, right? So it's the same thing. And within this, though, everything that you focus and concentrate on, it's sending that to the collective consciousness. And so if you know you're gifted at this and that you have a very, very strong resonant frequency where you just seem to have a fountain of this plasma and the ideal conditions through which it operates in, well, then this is something that you can do. This is something that you have control over. And you can do this in any environment. It's easier to achieve in some environments. Yeah. Try doing this in a place full of jackhammers and people yelling. It might be more challenging. That's all. But no, if you can actually achieve all these things and your thoughts become things and everything, you really do. What this amounts to is this is a emission of energy measurable with actual meters. So remember that. I have the meters. You can measure it. When you put your finger close to it, it goes, I see that. When you put these probes next, and I know what you're saying. Yeah, Gabe, but you're by an electrical outlet, and what if it's just the electrical? I get it. I say the same things, but then I take it out to the middle of nowhere and I plug it into a tree and it goes and says it has energy. So what am I supposed to make of that? Do I say that didn't happen? I don't do that. And so within this life force that like guys like Wilhelm Reich discussed, that in more modern times, people like James DeMayo have been discussing, I guess, that, who have expanded on that research, that that spectrum of energy, for as far as I can tell, and what I'm discussing here in a less, biological sense and more of a etheric sense, that you really do have the building blocks for manifestation. You have the building blocks within this for actually creating things, and binding plasma within that field. Then the more you can integrate what you're doing with what others are doing, that's when you begin to, quote, vibrate it into physical reality. And again, that's just really a fancy way of saying that you got the right attention at the right time with the right people who then witnessed what you've done or did or said or heard or wrote or YouTubed or televised or whatever the case is. Then all of those people within that act that you performed, which was transmitted out into the biofield, they then witnessed you. This is why the word witness is huge within occult circles. They talk about this very heavily as it's not just in like judge, juries, and trials. Like, it's an actual concept of occulted, quote, witnessing. All right. And why do you think that they have a title like that for it? It's because they're aware of the plasma exchange. They're aware that, it's the same thing. If the reason why sometimes people may hate you but want to be around you is because they do want to chip away at your biofield. It's about creating a design within physical reality through you, using your physical body as a conduit for their plasma, or more apt, lack thereof. If they had more of their own, they wouldn't feel the need to dominate somebody else's. And so this, I think, is a science concept. I think there is something to it. It doesn't have to manifest that way. And I do think that the reason why it does is because of this concept of this perception of DOR, dark orgone radiation, being an evil or a bad type of thing. And I think the more people that attach that belief to it, the more it manifests it into reality. That's all. Because I think it works the same way as religion and faith and everything, guys. I mean, yeah, there's things that are history, but then there's other things that can be vibrated into resonance as history by a collective consciousness believing in it. That's when it's getting like, really, 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 tripped out. So hang on, guys. All right. So the reason I was bringing this up is because I think a lot of people are feeling the same thing the last several years. I've heard this from just so many people who they start to have problems with their family or their friends, and they lose relationships where people start to just sort of reject them because they're thinking a little bit differently right now. And it sometimes goes far beyond this sort of like PC woke culture aspect that we're all sort of like having sent and forced our way. There's something way, way bigger to it that's going on. And this is why I'm trying to say that people that have figured this out, it's important to take feedback from others and to listen to them, but it's really important that you not let others dominate you, with your biofield, and to make you feel like what you have to contribute to the overall universal plasma field is less relevant than what they do. Because that's a realm that they can cut you off from, like YouTube and Twitter and, even internet in general, but not a single person in the world can cut you off from the bio internet. They can't cut you off from the collective consciousness. They can't cut you off from what you achieve in the meditative state and in the astral projection realm, which is pretty powerful. And, some people are very gifted within that area and they don't even realize it. I've learned that especially because I just had a lot of strange experiences when I had this download about 5 years ago that I interviewed on Miles Johnston and the Basis Project, an interview I wasn't entirely happy with, not because of him in the classic sense, but because I just felt like such a schmuck at the time. I was so naive about the way everything worked. I was still studying a lot of these energy concepts at a pretty basic, just dumb level. I mean, people were throwing so many different concepts my way, and this is when I had to learn a lesson, folks. If you wonder why I can be a dick at first, this is what's up. It's because I literally just had people that aggressively threw at me bullshit concepts they knew were bullshit. These were people that I learned later were way smarter and way more intelligent than they let on. And the whole point of them like sending me into like organite pyramid land and bullshit like that. I mean, like, hey man, check out our organite pyramids. We're all about life energy. Check out the organite pyramid. It's like organite pyramids don't do shit. I don't care what anybody tells you, man. It's really not a relevant concept. Fine, you can get some meters to trigger or whatever else like that. If it works for you, don't let me tell you it doesn't. That's fine. That's up to you. People can manifest things into reality, though. That's all I'm telling you. Maybe what's really doing it is your concentration on a pyramidal shape. Did that ever occur to you? That trinities operate in threes, and that by focusing on a pyramidal structure, pyramidal, however you say it. That's a joke in the movie European Vacation with Chevy Chase in the beginning. What are the pyramidal tracks? A strange coincidence. But anyways, folks, just try to remember that, like, what I'm trying to do is remember that I didn't ask for what this is around me. This wasn't something that I really contributed to or wanted to have happen overall. And so in light of that, it's made me kind of question like what I even want to do with my material relative to what I discuss on my channels, because I have to wake people up to some degree about what's already gone on and demonstrate that material for those who don't get it and don't know yet. Because to just get introduced into my metaphysical and energetics and everything like that offhand, it doesn't always like click with people. They have to sort of see some of the problems that led up to get to this material before they can figure the rest out. But I really think that if a person just were to study my channel from the beginning, like chronologically, you'll see the progression and knowledge. So I'm telling you that, guys, I leave it up for a reason, unless something I said was totally just like, I go, ugh, I can't live with that. If there was something that I thought was true scientifically, and then I discovered that it was more of a bullshit concept, for example, then yeah, that's something I really don't want memorialized, not out of embarrassment, because if that's all it was, I would just leave it up. Mostly just because I don't want it to be perpetuated. So to be clear, guys, yeah, I don't believe in organite pyramids, and I don't think that they're really effective. And but I do believe in pyramidal energy, and I know that that's absolutely a thing. So huge difference between these two, but you can see why somebody would want to popularize one thing so that you don't look into the other. And so I'm way more about looking into the other, which is the actual energy that's emitted from actual real life freaking pyramids. I actually want to visit one and go inside it and go, yes, I am measuring energy in here. That's important to me. I've seen it happen, guys. I mean, there's people doing it all across the world, and there's no reason why the same thing can't be done on a pretty large scale here in America. To just start proving energy concepts on a larger scale. I was just doing it, guys, until, look what just happened to me. I had everything ready, guys. I basically was ready to go. I was all set. And yeah, just totaled my freaking car. And then right as I'm trying to get my feet back, they made it impossible to get another one. And then I got stuck here. And before I knew it, my resources were mostly depleted. Actually, they're depleted. So that's that. So in case anybody's wondering, like, do I put, I put my own skin in the game, guys. Everything, all of it, including my car, to do this and to keep it going. All of it. I went completely all in on everything when it comes to my dedication to this research. Sorry about the gambling pun, because I do not gamble. And I don't like gambling. I'm in the worst place I could possibly be in right now if it weren't for the fact that energetically, there's a reason that I'm here. It's a trippy thing, guys, because let's talk about a little bit like some of that strange energy. Did ever occur to anybody that maybe the fact that they made a artificial pyramid out there in Las Vegas, right, at the Luxor, that in and of itself could have horrendous negative energy inside it just by virtue of it being off kilter. I've never studied it. I don't know what the dimensions are. I don't know if anybody's ever done an energy study on it, but my guess is it probably wouldn't bode well. That it was probably a designer of negative energy. They would want it to be a psychotronic generator that draws in DOR because they want more people to experience loss. They want more people to lose money when they go in there. They don't want this to be an experience where they're revived and healed. That's for sure. Unless you're telling me that casinos exist to make everybody feel amazing and like they're a winner. If that's it, then okay. I guess they're generators of POR. Then why do they take your fucking money? Stay out of them, guys. They're not good places to be. I hate them. I really don't like casinos. The thing is, too, guys, sometimes like to stay in them, you can get them incredibly cheap, but there's nothing in the world that makes them worth it. They're just horrible places to have to spend time in, energetically. But, anyways, I guess I don't want to get too deep into the topic of maybe like why I'm talking about this, but maybe I just should. I think it's because like there's people like within my family where I I looked up to them so much, when I was younger, and I trusted in some of them, and it was such a trick on my brain. It was such a good cop, bad cop maneuver on my brain to make me think that amongst some of these people that that one might be different than another, and then to find out, again, there goes my hero. It was when you're, it was a lot to process to think that this person that I wanted to be like him so much for years. I thought he was, I don't know. I don't know why I wanted to be like him. I guess he was like anybody wants to be like him. That's the person that was your example. I don't know why. I don't know why. Because I look back and I think to myself, was that really an example I wanted to be? It wasn't. And why a group of people can be so powerful at vibrating something into resonance, you know, to where you honor them into some weird way that like you don't even like. Now I just look at myself like, really? It's like that 80s. I can't remember, there's this 80s movie or a 90s movie. I can't remember what it is, but it's like it's this funny line, and a friend of mine used to quote it all the time. Where he'd be like, "I can't believe I used to be into these guys," like, or "I can't believe I used to be into this band," or something like that. He would always quote it so perfectly. I wish I could remember which movie it was, but it was just it's like that. There's times where I kind of look now at the things that endeared me to some of them. I'm just like, I don't know. It's like embarrassing. It's like you go through your old record collection. You're just like, oh shit, I listened to this. Oh my god, dude! Everybody dance now. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess. uh, yeah. I mean, You know what I think I'm doing in Vegas? I think it is because of the negative energy. I think I'm just drawn to places. I think I'm just drawn to places that have that they need to have the energy balanced. That have I don't know why, guys. I'm not. I don't want to be in negative places. I don't. In fact, when I'm there, I really want to break from it. It's too much, and I used. Sometimes it still overwhelms me from time to time, but I've learned now that when I'm feeling the strong energies in these places, and I'm telling you, I've learned to like really tune into it, and I can transmute some of this in ways that I didn't think that the human machine was really capable of doing. The physical symptoms that I get when I'm doing this are profound, and I'm not ill and I'm not sick. It's that what it does to my body as I'm processing the energy at that moment is an absolute psychoenergetic, bioenergetic process. And there's something that's occurring at that moment where I think that it's horrible, guys. I don't like even talking about it. It's somewhat paranormal in nature, and the way that it makes your body feel. I mean, there's definitely things that are more EWs, and it's a whole other topic. And then there's negative energy that's in locations. And I've just learned to take even things that are EWs, you can transmute, because what those things are karmically is somebody's sending out intention that you've not requested. And again, I think it is important to state, like, not get angry at somebody or focus your anger on an individual. If you feel inclined to, and I was talking about this months ago, but I lost sight of reminding people like this. A relatively karma-free way, if you're angry at an action and you think that somebody's intentionally doing something, is simply to say, I return your karma to you. I return your karma to you. And you can just say it inside your mind. You don't have to say it out loud or verbally if you don't want to. But I would argue that that has its own power too. That's separate from just thinking it. And, it doesn't hurt to say, I return your intention to you, because it's more of a return to sender thing instead of some spiteful action like, I don't like you, I hate you, what did you do that for? Because how do you know that the person was doing something malicious or that it even came from them? It may just be an assumption, So that's why I try to encourage that. It's kind of a karma-free way of getting rid of some of the anger. And I thought about that as far as my own situation goes, because, like, why did some of these people change so radically at some point in time, And that's the part that I guess is, I don't know who changed, and maybe if it was just that I changed, and that as I changed, I just started noticing what everybody really was. And I'm starting to think that that might be part of what it was in a way, but I wasn't changing. I was just returning to the person that I started out as. And the more I thought about it, was who you see right now, what I really have is the spirit that I had when I was a 5-year-old, and the lack of fear that I had. Actually, I was probably in a greater fear state when I was a 5-year-old, but I wasn't afraid of like real world problems. I was more afraid of like more existential things, strangely. Like, I think that's normal actually for a kid, because day-to-day things are mundane. You see, it's almost like when they tell you to avoid the mundane, or that you don't want to deal with the mundane in some of these mystic societies. What they're really telling you is that you need to make your mind a little bit more, into that pure state before you were surrounded with cynicism. I would argue that's part of the process here, and that metaphysically, it's like we're experiencing kind of a lot of us are having like our own, like a rebirth here in this physical body that we're in. And at first it feels really weird because the synchronicities are flying in, and it's not something that we're accustomed to experiencing within this body. It's something that's more metaphysical in nature. And so when it begins to get closer and closer to our daily reality, and it breaks into the physical reality, it feels really, I think, I mean, it's an intense thing for a lot of people, and they don't really know how to respond to it. And I went through this back in 2015, 2016, because I would find that a lot of times that my storyline would synchronize to some people. And sometimes I'd watch their YouTube clips and it's just like, there's no way in hell this is happening without some degree of, focused intention. Like, this has to be something that was planned. It would bother me. Sometimes I got pissed. It would just make me feel cynical about the whole thing, because I'm thinking this has to be technology. And here's what's really effed. Yeah, technology can do all of it. So you're aware. You're just like, well, hell, how do I know? This is where it got really challenging for me, and I just had to start allowing my intuition to take over to some degree and not get too bogged down in pushing people away, but also not accepting everything that came in. And that was the problem. Like, I wasn't used to experiencing any of these things. I didn't really get a lot of the metaphysical things. And then when they were, I wasn't really ever in an environment that encouraged it. So it was almost like when I placed myself into isolation for a few weeks while I downloaded all this information. I call it the Ka Codex. It was delivered to me. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a series of notebooks that has a lot of this information that I've been telling you about. And I've just been expanding it and discussing it and putting it out in documentaries, basically. I mean, really, everything you see on my YouTube channel is the Ka Codex. That's everything in there. Almost to the degree where I think that I created a massive sigil in transcribing it, because that's what you do. You add power to whatever you're doing within magic, ritualistic magic, which is really just bending the plasma field through focused concentration. Again, guys, that sigils and sigil magic, it operates on you just like doing all these things with numbers and taking out the vowels and adding it all to one master cluster and having intention in it. I mean, guys, it's weird, because a sigil really is kind of like the same way somebody designs a cell tower and then it winds up becoming one. The same way somebody creates blueprints for a house, then it winds up becoming an actual physical house. That's all. And some people, I think, what they're not giving themselves credit for, or they're not understanding entirely, is that the things that they're vibrating in the physical reality through the metaphysical, this is a really sloppy realm. And if you think that you can draw clear correlations between what's going on in physical reality to what's always going on there, no. And you really can't assume those associations. That's why it's so freaking tricky, because especially if you're a person that has very vivid astral things going on relative to what you're experiencing, then yeah, it's going to be like the synchronicities are going to be like super intense, because you're a synchronicity magnet. Most of the people that go through this, that's what I'm going to tell you. You're an information magnet and a synchronicity magnet. And that's part of your blood group, probably, is why it's going on. And that the internet's made it possible for you to find more of your tribe. And then a lot of times when you either find one of them or you find somebody whose blood group works in total opposition of yours, you just experience some strange shit that's consistent with, like, I hate using these terms, guys, but they'll try to use like all these terms, like you got like in I don't really want to repeat them, guys. I really don't even want, because people are going to start searching them and shit like that. And I don't like doing it. But people try to assign all kinds of like foo-foo language to it and everything like that. And it's just not that complicated. It isn't. And so part of my problem was, as this happened, like I was so in love with the world and thinking like, it's all like this cool scientific realm, and just thinking that people would understand what I'm talking about immediately, because it's like, yeah, well, they know about these things. They must know what I'm talking about. They're used to this. Well, no, a lot of times you're trying to talk to somebody about an issue or something like that, and they just didn't have a freaking clue. Or I was explaining to somebody, things that occurred within astral projection things and I was like going, does that sound familiar to you? Or I wasn't trying to be like whatever, but I was trying to find some way to verify it. And, yeah, I mean, sometimes people will be friendly and they'll like say something like, yeah, things can go on within the astral realm, and and just about anything can happen there, because that's kind of like where you're just creating votes into what's going to manifest into physical reality. And so, yeah, like, if you're one person that barely pours out any plasma, like it just goes bloop, bloop, bloop. Well, whatever you're trying to manifest, especially if you don't even bother to do focused concentration exercises or pray, meditate, or orgasm to it, hell, it's probably not going to amount to anything. But if you're that 3% of the blood group, and you're doing a focused concentration exercise that would include prayer, meditation, or orgasm, then yeah, like what you emit at that moment of the meditation session, the prayer session, or the orgasm will be like a huge fountain compared to the other people's blood groups. Like bloop, bloop, bloop. They're like aiming a little squirt gun at the biofield, like going, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And those of you in that 3%, when you're doing this, you're just like, you just made a freaking mushroom cloud with your intention. And it's probably going to float really far pretty fast. That doesn't mean that whatever is within your thought forms is going to meet within physical reality as realistic as it seems like it is to you. That doesn't mean that it's irrelevant, and it doesn't mean that those things happen for no reason. So I'm not dismissing it either. It's just one of those things that I had to sort of like understand better and adjust my communication so I didn't alienate people that I approached at first, because sometimes I think that it was because I had so many questions and I had so many things going on that my approach to people would be like, and this and this and this and this, and then they get like, a freaking War and Peace document that is of my random scramblings and everything, because my brain is thinking of 1,000 things at once. And that's just how I am, and I'm thinking people are just going to understand me, because guess what? Gabe's brain has been used to that for a couple decades. I was used to people just understanding how I am. I didn't really have to enter into many new environments. I have to be honest with you guys. It's like trying to go like public with things like that. Even I was just kind of like going, oh, wow, man. I guess a lot of people were accommodating parts of my personality. I didn't realize. That's all, yeah. So, guys, I wanted this to be something that is there for like, what do we all do when we start to lose the people that were our heroes and were the ones that we looked up to the most? And this is why I keep talking about the biofield so much. It's like, at some point we just have to let go of that. And I was told this within both astral realms and within other types of groups of people that I've been talking about. So I've gotten it in all areas, read about it, astral, talked to people about it. And the real challenge now is understanding that you have to begin to disregard things that are being fed to you that are unhealthy forms of information designed to deceive you, designed to cut you off from the truth, designed to cut you off bullshit that happened. But that's okay, guys. I'm back. Cut you off from the universal plasma field. Guys, literally all I did was change something on my browser, and it swept across and shut off my streaming software like that. It was weird. All right. Getting back to it. To cut you off, though, that's the problem. They all right. That broke my concentration a little bit. Yeah, I know. I did say cut off. What the? See how that is? You see what happens? You see what happens, Lebowski? That's what that was, man. That's what that was. That was somebody doing it. You see what happens, Lebowski? I'll teach you to start telling people about the biofield. I'm going to cut you off right when you talk about cutting off the biofield. Crap. All right. I wanted to finish that thought though, because it was important what I was talking about at that moment. Shit. All right. All right. Well, here's the deal, guys. Let's just, I'm pretty sure this is where I was going with it anyways, is that now the challenge is once you've realized a lot of it's bullshit, there goes my hero. My favorite band sucks. My favorite director is a creep. Whatever the case is. How do you deal with that? There goes my hero, right? I think now is where we just start to recognize that maybe we're better at doing this. Maybe some of us can do what they did better. And maybe that because we have something inside us that already amplifies exponentially, that maybe just the best thing for some of us to do is to just like agree upon the things that make sense. I think the ones that, again, I want to do this. Anybody that wants to is cool with me because I really don't even know what my blood group is. I have no clue. I can only guess, and I've only had people tell me that I'm this or that without having a lot of verification one way or the other. But it doesn't mean that I believe or don't believe in the dynamics behind why that blood group has things going on with it any more or less. I've seen too much evidence to suggest, and I've witnessed too much magic with that group of people. Like whatever it is with the O's in particular, there's something very unique that goes on within their blood group relative to everybody else and what they do polarity wise and the way their behaviors are in general. There's extremes within their behavior, which isn't to say that they're extreme people. I've just seen such polarities within that relative to blood group, meaning within relative to ability and less to do with like nice or mean or anything else. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, there's times where I feel like some of the ones that I've been around, actually most of them, they really are magnets of synchronicity. And, once you get to what makes that a reality, then psychoenergetic events like somebody feeling, I think that they do experience these weird things. I've had people tell me this too often where it's like, I feel like they're like, people are just fucking with me, to be blunt. And I think that there is a little bit of a polarity feeding mechanism that can occur. And I'm not entirely sure what's causing that, except for I think it might just be bioenergetic and psychotronic manipulation. And I don't think that it's organic. I think that something is going on with the changing, I think, within our population using, a lot of these, the frequencies and there has to be nanomaterials involved with what's going on because it's just too easy to add these things to food and get them into the air and into people's whatever. And once you understand like the kind of things that they were talking about doing with those materials and, delivering vaccines, delivering illnesses, all kinds of things that they can do with those particles, right? And that some can float on magnetic resonance. Well, hell, then well, let me put it this way, guys, and I don't want to be gross here, but like I can think of times where I ingested something that I did not want to, and I could tell that it was something like that. It definitely had something metal in it or whatever, and a whole bunch of it was in my stomach, and it wasn't making me feel very good. But the way I am, guys, is like it's weird. Like everything tends to separate in my body. I don't really ever get sick in a way that's significant. I'll get like a very brief moment of super intense sickness that maybe would kill the average person. But what I'll do is I'll just sweat bullets and just be like you'll see me physically go through it and everything like that. But it's over in a few minutes. I mean, it's kind of bizarre. I've gone through it a number of times. But the nano thing, I learned that, yeah, they were doing something with food, guys, because I'm telling you, There's been times where I ingested some food that I thought had it in it after I ate it. And it might have just been this intuition because the way it hit my stomach was just so unnatural. And I'm just like, something's going on. Something's going on in my stomach. And sorry to be gross, guys. Just cover your ears for a few seconds. Like, but then it all coagulated in my stomach. And then it was almost like somebody using magnetic resonance was able to get that wad of all of the particles that stuck together in my stomach to just, like, I'm telling you, it wasn't like vomit. It just a big glob of this, blah, it just a big gelatinous, blah, like ectoplasma in fucking Ghostbusters or something like that. It was almost like completely clear though. And it just, and it was slippery and it just kind of flew out. It wasn't like vomiting or spitting or something. I'm sorry guys, but I think that's what it was literally. I think that they just, like, I got dosed with a mega concentration of these things. Maybe they wanted to see what it would do. And it just went, a theory, because I've just had a lot of weird things go on, but yeah. Honestly, Tracy, I don't think that a lot of those tests are valid, but I think they can be designed to, show whatever people want. So I don't know what to think. I know that there's times where I was trying to verify what I was. And when I was still on speaking terms with my mother, I would, she'd be like, let's go to a couple of drugstores. And I'd be like, okay, whatever, and we go looking. And then conveniently, all the ones that she selected to go to didn't have a single one of these things. Like, oh, they don't have them here. Maybe you can find one online to order. And that's always what it was. It was, it would be like, I would get delivered to the store by a relative and they never had them in stock. And then if I wanted one, it was like the conclusion at the end of the day was, maybe you should order one from Amazon. And then, okay. I mean, guys, like, here's the thing, because I don't believe that Ancestry or DNA 23 would actually give you accurate reports. That's all. I just don't believe it. So, all right. But the reason why I was talking about all this to begin with, sorry to take a detour there with all the gross technology things, but how do we change this? Because somebody asked that earlier in the last stream, like, all right, now that we know all this, what do we do? What do we do, Gabe? All right, fine, we know what's wrong. And that's totally legit. And to your credit, you weren't aggressive towards me, but it was a nice way to say, like, what do we do now? What's our next steps? And so this is what I would like to do, I guess. This is all I'm trying to figure out is our next steps. How are we going to manifest things into physical reality that we select, that we choose? What are we trying to achieve here? And I think some of that does involve a little bit of once you understand you're on a common set of beliefs with a group of other people, that you just start to synchronize the things that you agree on. To me, that's the most important thing within this blood group. Don't look for the things that you have as differences initially. I don't think. I think if you're in this blood group, you're going to probably have different opinions and everything like that, and that those of you who understand that you're this, and again, even if I'm not this, guys, I would be happy to help people coordinate it. What I'm saying is that you are actually doing something without understanding it. You're doing something really powerful. And I do believe in your abilities. I've studied it long enough. I just haven't had a lot of test subjects to try out, the equipment to learn, are these people in fact experiencing what I believe they're experiencing, which is an increase in output of orgone relative to other people, an increase in body voltage relative to other people. And I believe that they will have in more parts of their body stronger outputs of their biofield when I measure them on Correllian photography. That's what I would think it would happen. And I'm basing this on research that's already been done. So again, this isn't me going like, yeah, I have these great theories. No, I'm basing it on what's already been done in the past that I would just simply like to validate independently of documents that I've read on the internets. That's all. I'm not a person that is as a big person on doing that. I like to I want to read it. Yes. I want to know what all has been done because I want to know exactly how they did it. and I want to replicate it to the best of my ability. This has been the most frustrating aspect of human energy concepts. Anytime somebody says loosh or chi, I'm like, okay, great, but what is it? I mean, please be tangible, show me. And then you get into all their Gaia, Mother Earth. And then I go, okay, now you've lost me. You've lost me. Yeah. Oh, you guys. Let's not get into my parents' side. Yeah, I mean, I think they know everything about this, but they're never going to tell me what mine is. And I doubt they would be blunt or frank or whatever you want to say with me about what theirs are. I asked. That's all I'm telling you. I asked, and I didn't get straight answers to just about all these questions. As I saw a lot of evasiveness, and when I mentioned RH negative, this is like I spent some time with this other group of people. There's one lady in particular that was kind of filling me in on how a lot of these things went. And then I kind of went back and confronted my parents, like for about 2 days. I went over there to their house. This is like one time after we had already been kind of estranged or whatever, and I kind of confronted them with these things. And as I was mentioning the RH negative thing, I can tell you that my mother was nervously pacing around and everything like that, and she wasn't looking straight ahead at me. She has this thing she does where she'll start to do this with her fingers a little bit, It's like, so I know that yeah. There's something going on. Anyways. Hey, it might be. And look, again, I don't, if you're a person that has a strong metaphysical ability and you experience a lot of things within the astral realm, hey, look, I personally appreciate the people that are at least honest about it and everything like that, because somebody's got to be the one that talks about it frankly, and I don't want them to get ostracized. But I also, because it's happened to me when I was trying to share it with somebody, like, will you help me understand this and explain it? And but I didn't approach it that way, and that's what I understood now that I did wrong. You know what I mean? Because I had to have an experience like that myself, and I think I freaked out, somebody a little bit with it. It was too much information, or they thought, well, this person's obviously a shill wasting my time, and they probably just immediately went, which is understandable, because some of those people that I was sending those emails to, they dealt with a considerable number of people that say these exact same things to them all the time. And that's the thing I need you guys to understand. Like, when you do that, then yeah, everything that goes on within this physical reality thing, it really does create these metaphysical bridges that you're not always aware. And the more people that see you on the internet, the stronger that gets. And so, yeah, within the astral, you're having independent experiences all around the place. Somebody else's, again, it's just, I know about this, guys. And I've even had some of my experiences synchronized in some really strange ways that I didn't have a lot of clear explanations for at the time, because it would translate into physical reality. And I'd go like, okay, then there has to be something real about that. It's like, no, what you're really dealing with that, it's that, okay, think about it like this. You're manifesting all these things in the metaphysical, and there's things that you're conscious and aware that you're manifesting through direct, thought forms that you're focused and concentrated on. And then there's whatever is the focus and concentration of you relative to another individual, where they've sent out a whole series of data sets that resonate strongly with you as an individual. And that's all in the biofield and in the collective consciousness, because others have the same types of thoughts and opinions and values too, but it's a rare thing. It's out there, it's in the biofield, but you're also sensing at an intuitive level how rare it is to have those connections, because you're only seeing out of the bazillions of ones that are out there, a very small number that have it. And so that creates this much stronger, you know what I'm saying? It's some factor of amplitude to the individual signal, I think. And there's some really gifted psychics that I've seen that are on, that, I've even communicated with over email. And I think that part of what's driving their ability at this point is they already had ability to begin with, but then after they were like on an interview with, one of these people or a few of these people on the internet, then now they've been seen by another 50 to 100,000 people. And then again, guys, these are metaphysical relationships that you don't even have a part in. but your image is out there and it's seen by all these people and they're resonating with your information. And so again, biofield, meeting of cybernetic links of common data sets. All right. So instead of getting like freaked out by it or feeling like or whatever or anything else like that, what you got to do is start learning to make that work for you and make it actually work to balance things for everybody. When I mean to say work for you, don't be Mickey Mouse and Fantasia unless you want it to backfire on you. They'll go like, want to cook me up manifest some shit for me now, man. This is going to be, oh yeah. Oh, I'm going to make my world like a fountain of gold and ice cream sprinkles and everything else like that. Well, no, what you really want to do, I think, is if you're doing this appropriately, and you'll get better results when you start doing it like this, is to manifest abundance for everyone. I think when you have this ability, what you should start doing is thinking less individually and thinking more about what you would like to see everybody have. Me, when I need money, in particular, I find that if I envision everybody with abundance, I have better success. I have, the next day, oftentimes when I think about abundance for everybody and I think about everybody, like, I don't want anybody to feel this way. And I even sometimes say, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be straight up with you about my process. Okay. I do this when I urinate. And that's because you can program the water, especially urine is very programmable. And so I would encourage you, if again, you can take it or leave it, guys. But if you really want to bring metaphysical into physical, think about love, abundance, acceptance, cooperation, peace, and envision it in your mind. And think about many people as a large collective experiencing abundance and having as much food as they want, having as much, having a nice, safe home to live in, getting along with their neighbors, having the car they've always wanted, having their dream house, having a family if that's what they want. You know what I mean? Think about it. Think of like it's the end. It's the dream at the end of Raising Arizona. Anybody ever see that movie with Nicolas Cage? Where he's like going, it's a place in some faraway land, not unlike here, where everybody's fed and all the children are happy and well adjusted and no one has any problems and everybody meets for the holidays and they all get together and they're really nice and polite and they pass things around the table and just a beautiful place. Not far from here. Maybe some alternative, like land or reality. I don't know. Maybe it was Utah. You ever see that? It's one of my favorite movies for that ending alone. Because the laughter I get as he's having this just beautiful, sweet-natured dream about something that I think that nearly everybody finds kind of beautiful, I think. Even if you're cynical and you've rejected all of this idea of having a family, there's something about the way this guy that's like committed like armed robberies his whole life and has just reached his last fuck up. At the end of his dream, he's just imagining him. And it's him trying to manifest it through his dream. Seeing him with Holly Hunter as his wife, they have this whole family and he's seen it through his own eyes and he's holding her hand and everything like that. But there's just something just so beautifully silly and also it's warm natured at the same time. You see what I'm saying? Like it was a goofy thing to have in the movie, but like, cause like the music is just like, dun, 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 dun. I mean, it can't not affect you. Like you're really swept into it. It's like you're watching a Christmas movie. But there's just something about the way where he's struggling with like, I don't know where this far off alternative reality is. Maybe it's Utah. It's not some other planet or a dimension. It's a state. Full of Mormons. It's just funny to me. Oh, well, I don't know, guys. All I'm trying to say here is what you can learn from that, though, is he's in the sleep state. He's in a rested state. He was all like, feeling like, worn out from having to, like, if you watch the movie, you'll see why he's so tired at the end of the day, at the end of the movie. But, he's completely worn out and everything like that. And he's just having this dream. And so while he's in that REM state, this is all I'm saying, folks, like, you can achieve amazing things when you're in the dream state, sure, but you don't have that much control over it. It's all sort of like happening outside of a lot of your direct intention. And then if you can reach that meditative state, if you can learn how to just kind of like just stay quiet and in the moment and stay just very silent, and then just focus on balance. You focus, hang on really quick, guys. You focus on balance, okay? You really do. In these moments, you just bring everything down and you don't let things bother you. Hang on, folks. My internet's having issues and I know why. All right. Sorry about that. If it's been a little bit laggy, I apologize. I just learned why that was. But no, what I'd like you to do then is to start, when people say, what should we do? What can we do? I think you start with this, and I really do. And I tried saying this in the last feed, but I want you to think of it as an energy process, and to try to visualize the energy process, to begin that when you're in a concentration exercise. Number one, if you haven't done heart chakra exercises before, find one and learn like how to do it that works for you. I'll just tell you an example of one that I modified, that I learned from Robert Anton Wilson. I modified it by just not following it correctly. And then he was copying from somebody else. So go figure. But what I've just tried to do is to say that, like, I try to imagine that a person that's caused me harm, or whoever is the focus of my aggression at the time, like if I'm angry at them internally, I don't want to stay that way, because I'm literally letting them use my energy. I'm creating a cybernetic link to that person through the aether, a little bit like Donnie Darko, if you ever seen that movie where he's motivated by that fluid cloud that goes through his chest. Well, that can be again, I'm not trying to make it seem as simple as that stupid book Patrick Swayze wrote in the movie, but the fear and love mechanism to a degree. Don't try not to go fear and love with it though, but motivations, right? Why are you going to the place that you're going to, or going, doing whatever you're doing? Is it motivated through a spectrum that's more of a build and create type, or is it more of a stagnant, still, I don't want to do it, I'm afraid of doing it, that kind of thing environment, So if you can start to really master that, and get into those techniques of focused concentration exercises, and then also focus on abundance for more people instead of your individual self. Yes, give something for yourself, but when you imagine your abundance, don't do it like with this surrounding you, like me. Imagine others around you experiencing abundance. Imagine others around you also, hey, I also got this, because when others have fewer problems, and have similar relieves stress from them, you're tapping into their internal desire of the collective consciousness, because you're wishing for something that will metaphysically, you're projecting it outbound to where when it rains down, think of all the metaphysical particles of the biofield as being capable of raining down. And once enough of them have something in common, they can form into physical reality. And something, that's really not that far off from how it's all working. And when you get that, you're really onto something. You're really onto what the people that practice the occult and practice, those Crowleyites and the OTO sex magicians and everything like that. You can take all of their techniques. You could take all the techniques of the Nepalese and that are up there in the Tibetan, not Nepalese, but the Tibetan monks. I apologize. Different groups, even though they're in the same regions. But yeah, like the Tibetan monks, like, you can use all those same techniques that they get through group meditation and group prayer. You can take all the techniques that you learn from like OTO and Golden Dawn use for what they program the human orgasm with. I mean, all of these things that you experience in ways that are more organic and less ritualistic, you don't have to turn them into a ritual like what they do. You just have to understand their technique. So what I'm telling you is the next time you think to pray, just maybe think about what I'm telling you a little bit, and it might help it. It might actually bring you more abundance because you're attaching it to the desires of most people out there who right now want what you want. They also need abundance. They also want abundance. So guess what you're doing? That's the POR spectrum of radiation, but it's also a hack because these people are experiencing fear, and that's also drawing them to want these specific things more. So it's a little bit like you're the energy balancer. You're whisking in all of the fear because you're learning to understand it and process it as a much more sophisticated machine with a higher order of responsibility. And when you understand that's what you really are, then yeah, you begin to be more responsible with the way you adjust your biofield and you address things and you communicate things. It just becomes a natural part of it because you're just like, oh, wow, I didn't understand what I was doing before. This is some intense shit. I really am doing something. At first, you're just testing the waters to find out, like, does this really work? Yeah, it works. Whatever you're doing, it'll work. But, it doesn't always have this linear pathway like you think, though. That's the big challenge with it. But still, it's, again, building the blueprints so that you can eventually get to where you need to be within physical reality. And that just starts by this, you just have to begin doing it this way. You have to begin actually resting like late. I'm just going to give you, like, instead of just like making this like less tangible, I'm just going to break it down to some real things you can do. Lay flat on your back, extend your feet and your legs all the way out, extend your arms all the way out. Do a Da Vinci. Do one of those. Start with one of those. Lay flat. If you got to lay on the ground, do it wherever you're comfortable. If you got a big enough bed, do it there. But make sure it's a stable place where you at least have some good amount of support for your spine. And then stretch out your feet, all your toes too, like everything. Do like that with your toes too. Do it with your toes. Stretch them all out. Make sure you completely extend your spine, completely extend your legs, your calves, all of it. Do all of it. In fact, if you do it now, I promise you're going to get back on here and go, oh my God, Gabe, that feels amazing. It does. It really does. It feels awesome. And then after you do that, then you just kind of do almost like the mummy, except you keep your arms like straight down. And then you're going to do things like this with your shoulders a little bit. You're going to loosen up your neck with these, neck exercises before you start doing your meditation. And then when you lay straight down, and have crystals nearby, because I do that. And I think there's an actual science-based process. So if you have crystals or you have an object that you use, there's probably some physical material in it that's actually helping facilitate whatever it is you do that's sort of magical. So go ahead and use it. Who cares? It doesn't even matter because a lot of it's coming from here, and that's just the conduit. And now when you're stretched out like that, and you stretch your fingers out too, like do this a little bit, and then I say, put the crystals like right there, kind of, well, look, I'm a guy, so it's easier for me to do, but, put it somewhere maybe here, or rest it somewhere closer to your chest or your breastplate, or somewhere close to your heart. So at least has something like that going. Or if that doesn't work for you, or that is too distracting, then try holding them in your hands or something, or just placing them somewhere on your person, right? The point is that I think some of this is just designed to like take your brain off of focusing excessively on the process and maybe on this other thing to a degree. But once you get past that, then it's really about finding that perfect state where your eyes are wide open, but they're closed, right? So you close your eyes, but in a way your eyes are open right now while they're closed. And you just start to do your work. You start to manifest. You start to think about what it is that you want to see brought into physical reality. But I would encourage you strongly that if you want to get results at this time, that you also remember that there are billions of people all across the world right now that are manifesting the world itself underneath their feet. And you're not in competition with them, but it's just simply that you're all contributing to the biofield and they all have to meet. And so where you will get the most exponential results is when you bind and attach your wants and wishes and desires to all those other people. And I've said this a lot in my material, but I really do want to reiterate that tonight, especially. I think it's extremely important to do that relative to water frequency. And you have a choice to leave. If that's your perspective and if you think I'm a antichrist, then feel free to disconnect. Why would you expose yourself to an antichrist if you think that's what I am? It's funny now that I'm actually showing you guys. All I'm telling you is how to meditate. You don't have to do any of this. I'm giving you how to stretch out and breathe. These are just ways to make your body relax. I'm not teaching any religion. I'm teaching science. I have nothing religious attached here. Why are you even here if this is offensive to you? Dude, go away. Seriously. Am I even talking about spirituality and faith right now? No. What I'm telling you about is a stretching exercise. And I'm just saying all you're doing is basically attaching your wants and desires to the 60-70% of the world. That's about as beautiful of a concept and life affirming concept as I can possibly think of. The fuck out of here. You guys, if you stretch and breathe, you're practicing Satanism. All right. That to me is the essence. That right there is, I'm not gonna, you know what, dude, whatever. Just that's desperation. Anybody seen Super Troopers? Desperation is a stinky cologne, John. It's a great line. I'm not. To me, it was funny. Desperation is a stinky cologne, John. To me, that's what it was. It's like, guys, I promise you, like what I just, in fact, I know some of you did it because I felt it. As weird as that sounds. Guys, it's bioenergy. There's nothing, again, the whole reason why there's nothing. What I've actually done with my material, you guys, is I've added a lot of validity to Christian Science. So I think it's bizarre to me that out of nowhere I get somebody that's just like, oh, it's demonic. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ. See, now there you go, guys. You want to make an argument? I said GD and JC, I apologize. It's because I'm not a Christian, okay? I just respect them. That's all. Whoa. Again, but I make mistakes like that when I'm in their presence sometimes. And I tell them, guys, they love me and I love them back, man. I mean, why you want to be like that? Really? I mean, why you want to be like that? There's no need to be like that. But that's all right, guys. I mean, if that's the path, if that resonates with you and that's the path that you're on, then then follow car, pay, jack, die, EM. Yeah, follow car, pay, jack, die, EM field. Go ahead and follow them for their Christian knowledge and abandon my obvious Satanist values. Okay. Never mind that I've actually, gone at length discussing, like, what is destructive about Satanism, why I think it is a negative form of thoughts become things. And again, guys, if I was promoting those types of values and telling people like, well, why not integrate a little Satanism into it? Well, I don't do that because I don't like what Satanism promotes. I like what Christianity promotes. I do. I really do. And so that's why you'll find that I'm warm to it. Has zero to do with whether or not I believe in a physical Christ. And I don't want to create doubt in anybody either, quite honestly, because the I believe that people bring things into physical matter through belief, and thoughts become things. And so, I don't know. I really don't know what begat what. But let me tell you this: I do think that there is a creator. And, I think if people can agree on that thing, then that's part of it. I think that, again, I understand that that's more associated with Freemasonry, but maybe that's why. Maybe it's because Freemasonry just acknowledges is that people come from different cultural contexts. And that's how I am to a degree. So I'm not a Mason and I wouldn't join the Masons. But what I'm telling you is that I just accept that some people practice religion from the cultural context that is their origins, and that's what the creator would manifest to from their unique set of values, backgrounds, blood groups, and regions that they come from. That's organic to them, and that's what resonates strongest with them and their group. And that they may actually believe something that if they were within the same, I guess, if they were born, at this angle and this many years in that direction, they would have been born a person in a different race with a different religion, but may have actually believed something nearly identical, even though it manifested as something, quote, different in what we perceive as physical reality. And I don't personally assign one thing as more true or false than the other. But, I have a lot of respect for it. So provided people don't stomp on me and go like, the Satan beast, damn thee to hell and crap like that, then the Christians never have to really worry about that from me, because I tend to I stand up and defend people that are being persecuted. And I have a pretty good track record of the last few years, especially if I see that there's people that aren't allowed to practice their religion and go to church. I stand up for them. I'll say I see the value in that. If there's organizations that I see are defending them and putting themselves out there as conservatives or any other type of persona, I will defend them, even if it's different than the way that I personally believe. But honestly, that's not in conflict with my belief. I just believe in freedom. And if people want to go meet someplace and believe in Jesus, then I think they have the right to. And I agree with them when I think that when they say things like COVID's being used to attack that. There was a time where I would have been cynical to that. And now I agree with them because I've seen it too frequently, where they're going to churches and synagogues, but they're leaving things alone that are very destructive and are actual super spreaders if you believe in that crap. So, anyways, guys, I think it's, the thing to do though is what I just told you guys, do the focused meditation. I bet you when I said for people to do that, at least one or two people fell asleep. I'd be willing to bet on it because it was so relaxing, or they're still in a deep meditative state. Seriously. That's how good that feels. And probably when they did it, they were able to manifest something significant after they fell asleep. So, well, this is honestly, what I'm telling you, you said, what were the next steps? This is part of it. It's mastering this and understanding what you're doing relative to the location that you're in energy wise. The problem is, folks, is that when I say this, people are expecting me to always have, look, I have lots of ideas that require funds. If you want those ideas, then sky's the limit. Where do you want to start? I'm going to start with the things that I have the resources to promote and the resources to discuss. Okay. And so I don't have the resources a lot of times to, bring a lot of my ideas into manifestation. But I can start with this. I can tell you that a big part of why I'm encouraging the meditation aspect and to master your meditation is because I personally began to get actual results. All right. When I did this part, you know what? You're right. I didn't tell you all the steps to the exercises because I did get distracted. Okay. So you're laid out on the bed, right? Sorry. Let's start over. You lay out on the bed, do your Da Vinci. Okay. Stretch out all your hands, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and do a really good thorough stretch and make it extend like as much as you can get it out there. Then do a straight down. Okay. Your arms straight down, your legs straight down, extend all your toes, wiggle your fingers. Okay. And then learn to and then do your neck rotations and everything. All right. Whether you want to use crystals or not, I'll leave that up to you. But what I'm explaining to you is what that process is that you have crystals inside your brain that you do. They surround your pineal gland. This is a science-based process. So if you're a devout Christian, this is not Satan technology. It's inside your human machine. You can interpret however you want to. But there's piezo-responsive crystals inside this crystalline brain. So what I would argue is, if you love Jesus, then focus on your love of Jesus. Focus on your devotion to Jesus. You see, I'm not here telling you satanic concepts. I'm telling you that you can reinforce your love and your belief in Christ and that in others if you meditate and think of Christ and do it at this moment. Think of the Christian cross. Is that what you want to manifest? Is this what you would like to promote as an ideology? All I'm explaining to you is that if you love Jesus, that you're not manipulating other people. This is not mind control and it's not satanic. You are voting. That's like saying that when you go to the voting poll, that's demon technology because you're not letting God decide who you should vote for. Dirt. So I don't buy into that. Sorry, man. Not trying to be insulting either. Although, yeah, you know what? Because I think that somebody was insulting me. Yeah, that time I was. Let's be blunt. Yeah, I was trying to be insulting there. Because I thought that was disrespectful to do. And so when you have this thing going on, though, if you want to use crystals, then you're able to tap into things within earth materials relative to your brainwave. That's all it is, guys. You've got little pixie dust of crystals surrounding your brain. There's crystals deep inside the earth. You're bridging that connection. You're creating a stronger link by having some common materials relative to earth and everything else, guys. It's the same reason why your blood group matters. If you have more iron oxide and steel and not steel, but like silver concentrations and gold or whatever, like there's different metal particulates that can be inside your blood. And that unique alchemical concentration and soup of those unique little metals makes a world of difference into how your quote magic works if you have this unique gift. And so if you buy into some of that type of mentality, then yes, they're going to say that anybody within this blood group is a demon or a devil. They're going to be acting like that, guys. They're going to try to assign negative intention to it when it has nothing to do with that. You can do negative things with it and you can cause exponential harm. That's why, guys, I'm trying not to be such a dick and responding to people all the time now, because I know some people are struggling with some things. And it occurred to me that I can't just dismiss everybody as being a bogus request or intentionally trolling me. It just might be that some people don't communicate the same way that I do, or didn't understand that their communication style I found abrasive. That's all. And so I'm going to, I'm trying to help with that, guys, really, because I know a lot of people are going through some things right now, and I don't want you suffering. And I don't want you feeling alone. And I don't want you feeling like that people don't understand and they don't have tangible, advice on what to do. I have lots of ideas, you guys, but a lot of them just require money and funding. But this is something that you can do within the metaphysical to get those resources to happen. You understand that? The reason why occultists are so effective at becoming rich is because they know this trick, except they get you to do it for them. They get you to honor and worship them. They get you and me and all of us to just like, oh, these people are so amazing. I love them so much. And we give our power away. We give our energy away. We give away the things to them that we could be manifesting ourselves. And so it's okay to like them, respect them, or to like their creative work, or like the songs, or like the movies, but let's not give our power away, and let's not give it to these other people. Like, let's understand what's inside us internally to actually create this. And so when you're in this state, when you're stretched out and you're in meditation, some of the best times for you to do this, I would argue, is the least convenient times, and the ones where you would expect it to be like the least effective. And again, this will take practice, but it's a valuable thing to do. Like, the minute somebody puts you into that state of like aggressive, like your heart's pounding, they got your adrenaline running and everything like that, this is when I would really argue that when you have the gift and you've got the blood group, look at this as your inner work, your spiritual work. This is your moment to excel and balance energy, because if you have what you do, a lot of times people are working you up because they're trying to get you to create what's called a psychotronic event, a psychoenergetic event with your brain. And that actually has a Tasmanian devil effect of negative energetics attached to it, which you will be used as a passive conduit for. I know how this works. I've been through it more times, and the people that did it to me would time it on specific dates. 9th, 18th, 27th. What do they all have in common? 9. They would do these things, guys, where I would be like, what is going on today? Now, if it's that date, I just look down, I go, oh, that day, I make sure all the attacks that come in, and they're, guys, they do it. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. They're numerologists. And it happens. And so that's when I kind of go like, I know that you guys are so sloppy. I know, I know you're a whole playbook. You do things on the 9th, the 18th, and the 27th. Sums of 9. 3 sums of 9, the 9th, the 18th, and the 27th. 9 plus 9 is 18. 9 is 27. And for some strange reason, this is like a thing that they do, I think, relative to casting out 9s. And there would be these very focused energy attacks where it would just be like that day, certain people in my life would just turn into little demons. And it's just like, poke, 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 poke. And I'm like, I don't like you anyways, but today you're being an especial pain in the ass. Why are you getting in my face so much? Why do you seem like you're going out of your way to piss me off? And again, I wouldn't think about it because I don't focus on those things, guys. I'm not the kind of person that like doesn't go anywhere on certain dates generally. You know what I mean? But I kept on observing that this was happening, and they were like sometimes like really aggressive, like designed to totally put me into a tailspin of like looking for help and being in a state of desperation and all kinds of things. And like then once I knew that was going to happen, I just learned to just like head it off at the pass energetically. You see, there's only so much you can do within physical reality if you approach it from physical reality. So once you know that they've got you within that realm and that there's not a lot you can do, your next option is what? Bringing it from the metaphysical into the physical. And that's where you have gifts. That's where I know this audience has gifts. They talk about them all the time. They wouldn't be asking the questions to me if they didn't have it. Yeah, guys, monatomic gold will just toxify you. Don't use it. That's my opinion, and I don't want it promoted. But that you're okay to think that, Karachi, and I'm not gonna judge you for thinking it. But if for this audience, I personally would say don't drink monatomic gold or consume it. That it would be toxic to you. And I'll tell you what else I've learned about gold is that men should not even wear gold rings because they don't have the physical process to wash the toxins from the metals that seep into their skin, and it's not a healthy thing to have. Attached to your body overall. It brings in toxins into the male body. Women, because they have a cycle that they go through, will expel the toxins, but men don't do it. So the recommendation is that you wear some material other than gold if you're really trying to do jewelry. So I would assume that translates to the consumption of monatomic gold. So I don't believe in it, and I don't like to promote that as an idea. I also, by the way, have a relative that, despite their intense belief in liquid silver and the fact that that's a person that I do think does know things at work, I also would not encourage liquid silver for a lot of the same reasons, But I'm also told, guys, that liquid silver, and again, that person does use it, and it's a person I don't trust. But see, they know everything about what actually works and what doesn't. So if they're chugging that shit, they're either doing it to fool me into thinking it's okay to do, or they actually believe that that works. So all I would say is it's one extreme or the other when it comes to liquid silver. And I don't personally know yet, but I don't take the risk. Only because this person that does this shoves this shit down my throat constantly. And is always like, when you need liquid silver, you should have more liquid silver. And I was kind of like, maybe that works for some people, but I got to think in others, it probably doesn't work very good. And so why would you have this assumption that it crosses every blood group? And this person, I think they would have done it in a way that would have made things worse, but that's just my own whatever, And then, once you get into that, I would say that it's important to find a working group of people that understand what I'm talking about and know what you're talking about. If you can find one other person that you can maintain, that you actually know at an intuitive level, that you're at least thinking somewhat along the same lines, guys, I would say that you could be significantly different than the other person. But what would be important is that when you meet with those people or that person, that you concentrate on what you're trying to manifest together, and make sure that it's something you genuinely agree on, and start there. That means to say that you agree on that it's an important thing to address, whether it's a problem or something you want to build, that it's a priority to you and them more or less equally. It's something that you would have to volunteer out in the open. Then you go, oh, you're into that too, or oh, you're okay with that, or you wanted that to happen, or you're, whatever it is, right? Start with the issues that you agree on already. And then again, when you do these focused meditation, concentration type exercises or whatever else, I would say that if you're like in more of a couple type relationship, or you're just with somebody that it's more sexual in nature, then that's where you can integrate things beyond prayer and meditation. And you're getting into the realms of orgasm, where you can do focused and concentration things on what you want to manifest relative to the collective within the act of the orgasm. And so that's all things that, ways that I think that when people say, what can I do to change things? Well, if you believe in the things that I've been talking about, or you think that there's a legitimate science to it, then I would hope that this suggestion wouldn't seem as if it's just a foo-foo new age Gaia Mother Earth solution, because I would have dismissed it as that myself at one time until I understood the bio internet and the biofield and how to amplify these things. And soon, I think, probably within the next 6 months, if I can, assuming that I can get through this hump, I know I will, guys. I don't know why I say if. It's just, it always happens. But then, yeah, I want to do something where I'm actually showing people, video recorded evidence of the body measurements and the body voltage, and showing the correlations. Like, okay, well, I took this measurement of body voltage relevant to biofield and brainwave, and then I discovered that people that experience this phenomenon have these traits more frequently than these other ones. Like, that's where I want to go with the research next, is they actually demonstrate that these things actually work. But yeah, that's a challenging thing, guys. My part Energetics 10 was about that. It's when I knew that I had generated results, but how do I explain that to the outside world that looks for evidence in a way that's way, way, way more tangible? And that's necessary. You can't just have, I don't expect anybody just to say like, yeah, Gabe, because you had a focused meditation concentration exercise on the beach at this date, at this time, at this location, that it translated to a psychotronic energy event that occurred due east from there, 200 some miles at a lake. And what made that happen? Well, I would argue that that's actually possible, guys. What if the reason why I've achieved the results that I did was because that one area that I went to down in like Hug Point, for example, What if you discovered that on the coast of Oregon near Hug Point, which is near like Manzanita and Seaside and Cannon Beach and all that area, what if deep under, right, by the coastline, there was just this waterway, like almost like a tube water slide that went for like 100 miles and traveled through these different caverns and had, like zzz, and all this water was just kind of rushing through there. And maybe it was like a big, large chamber of water. And then it eventually gets down to where it's almost like a creek, but the water is just because it's coming in from the ocean. But we're talking like a cavern that's like underground and like lava created it. And it just bored this hole all the way from the ocean. What if you discovered that one of the leak points where it actually rose to the surface was there out in somewhere in eastern Oregon, like 200 and some miles away at a lake? And that's why this all happened. Because I think that's actually what happened with me. I think I experienced an emotion and a feeling that was so intense that it literally resulted in me having that person's information, my own information, attached to the location of Wallowa Lake in Oregon. And I even wound up building a tower at Wallowa Lake in Oregon later on, after I had asked this woman to marry me at Hug Point. And if you draw this line at 90-some degrees towards Wallowa Lake, it goes right into it from where I asked her to marry me. I just can't get into the details beyond that. It's not, guys, it's not to be whatever. It's because I just can't. But there does seem to be, though, some strange connection to like where you physically put your body relative to these things also. So I would argue that maybe what created that event was I had created an anchor of energy by at one time going to Wallowa Lake, looking in the area prior to asking that woman to marry me. I had actually physically been there before. And so I would argue that's a little bit like you always leave an imprint everywhere you go. And so again, my plasma field, it's constantly emitting plasma. I was there for like a couple days. I probably sweated going up the hill and doing research or whatever. And then, whatever happened, guys. I don't know how that works exactly, but the point would be that I'm anchored to the location out there too, as I was in many places. This is why I think some of these things are happening, because like 100 years ago, you couldn't get around the way that I am now. Do you know how many places I've been? I don't think there's that many people that get around like I do. Just saying. It just occurred to me. I've been in like the vast majority of the states inside this union I've been to. I've lived in quite a few. Oklahoma, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada. Lived in DC. Trying to think where else. Traveled to Europe a few times. I mean, that's a lot of distance to travel, and that's a lot of places to have your bioenergy imprint at that at other times that people wouldn't have. When you combine this dynamic of air travel, especially when you go to other countries or across the country where you actually change time zones of a significant amount, more than a few hours, then you're doing something within space time that I don't think that people have fully grasped. I think we take it for granted that just time passes and that you go to one location and that, yeah, you have to adjust. Oh, I feel tired because it feels like it's that time back there. But I think it's deeper than that. I just think that that's how we're perceiving it. But there's something else that went on relative nearly to time travel. And so these things that we call airplanes, I don't know. To me, I feel like if they can go a few hundred miles per hour, they're really accomplishing something more consistent with like time travel, but we're perceiving it as a trip where we got someplace really fast. That's all. To me, that makes sense to me for some reason. Because I guess I don't accept that time as a static concept. That's all. Yeah, I mean, guys, it's like these little chunks of the crystal here, I mean, these aren't fancy or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, like fine particles of this crystal, I see just in examining it. little tiny chunks and fragments will just start to peel off a little bit like dust. And so if this is storing memory, if this is storing experience, if I'm vibrating into resonance through this conduit of a crystal, all these different things within physical reality, then the little tiny particles of dust that are left behind actually matter. They are a little bit like you left a piece of all of your experiences in that spot. So I've done a lot of these kind of weird experiments like this, guys, just because I've been just wondering, like, what difference do these things make? I'll travel different places and I'll carry around magnets that I had on me for years. I mean, like the same magnets, same set of crystals, the same set of rocks in some cases and shells I've had for a long time. Even with all the accidents and losing my property and having all my crap nearly burned down and everything like that. I don't even have luggage now, guys. That's why I'm in such an F situation. I don't even know what to do right now. Not to get into whatever, guys, but like I got to maintain, man. I got to be able to pay some bills tomorrow, and I don't have the money to do it. And part of my problem, guys, is that I don't have a storage unit. I don't have a home that's permanent, and now I don't have a car. And all I can do is rent cars and stay in hotels. And to do that, I need funding. And so the best I can do really is stay static in a place for a long time. But if I need to go someplace with my things, I'm kind of screwed because I don't have a car of my own any longer. And I'm not used to that, guys. I have had a car of my own as long as I've been an adult. Since I was 17 years old, I've always had some car at my disposal that I could use that was my own property. And this is, as of like a week or two, a few weeks ago, a month ago, the only time in the 46 years I've been walking this planet, this shit's ever happened to me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I have faith in people to keep an eye on me, and I know that they care about me, but this is a fuck situation. But, you know, again, getting down the whole, how do we bring things into physical reality? I don't know, guys. I'm doing my best. And you know, I have a lot of good ideas on how we go about doing this. I really do. So that's just in smaller things, all right? What you do with your individual machine meditation techniques to focus on thoughts become things, bringing them into physical reality, all right? Then getting into the next step, finding partners that are likewise, that can use one of those spectrums of positive orgone radiation to do energy balancing. So again, there's two forms of this, okay, that I want you to think about metaphysical organizations of. There's the types where you're doing focused concentration on what you would like to see happen. And then there's areas that are, this is where I think that some of us are going to have a larger part to play in whatever is going on. Because I do think there's people in defense circles that generally understand the mechanics, like just like Uvarov says in his article, they have a clear understanding of the quote, mechanics of negative energy. That's his quote. That's something that he brought up as a term. And I like it. I like it as a term, the mechanics of negative energy. And those of us that have a very strong ability and are very adept at doing this, we have to recognize our role as those who are capable of balancing locations geographically. And it's a skill that I've had to develop and understand about what's going on in my body relative to the earth, relative to earth frequency, and relative to earth brainwave relative to human brainwave. What is the earth's brainwave relative to my brainwave? And how do I create a synchronization between that and this, what's going on in my own machine relative to outside, relative to the earth, and synchronizing my thoughts to it in that way where I talked about. When you do it to what benefits most of the population, you have to keep in mind, if you believe at least a little bit in what I believe, then you believe that the population is the earth. All of us are, in fact, the earth that we're standing on because we're making it together in real time. That's why everything that I'm discussing here is so effective if you really understand it. But if you're resistant to understanding it, or you don't believe in it, or you haven't had a compelling enough experience in your own life to look for the answer, then yeah, it's going to be something that I think you'll be more cynical about, because I was the same way. Even though I had had multiple experiences in my life that were very metaphysical in nature and very difficult to explain. I've experienced weird timeline things, guys, and time reassignment things since I was a child, to where now that everything's happening today, I know that I'm going to be a part of something because it would explain what happened to me when I was 10 years old. And I literally had, half of a woman's body appear in front of me like a ghost and walk into my body, and it scared the living shit out of me. I've never had anything like that happen to me since then. And what it did to, it literally, the woman was, I'm about 99% sure I knew who it was, because I had it revealed to me in 2012 who it was. But I'd had this experience many, many years ago when I was about 10. Yeah, I wasn't even 11 years old yet. I might not even been 10. How old was I? Yeah, I was 10 years old. And I don't know if I should get into the ghost story or not. It's not a ghost. It was a real person. Which is to say that it wasn't that this person was like an apparition or like a lost soul. If my experience in 2012 was accurate, the woman that visited me in 1985 was one of my partners that I had spent considerable time with in my life. And in 2012, I had a Kundalini experience that I don't want to get into. I'll tell you privately, guys, but right now it's too embarrassing. I didn't do anything fucked up to have it happen. It's look, I'm just going to tell you so you don't worry. They ever think I'm a freak. I had a very uncomfortable bowel movement. I'll put it that way, because I had just been, without getting into details, guys, it was a very uncomfortable one, because I was backed up for like 2 weeks. All right. And this happened to me like back in 2012. I haven't had anything like that happen to my stomach since. And by the time everything finally happened, how do I say it, guys? Some people experience Kundalini through doing some esoteric sexual things. It didn't work that way with me. It happened this way. If that makes you laugh, it's okay. You can laugh at me. If you're grossed, I'm sorry. But if I don't explain it to you, then you won't understand like how one thing equates to the other, okay? And so the reason why that Kundalini thing that they tell, and not all Kundalinis happen this way, guys. It's just one way that people achieve it, is through stimulating that region, okay? I'm not into that in any way on any level. I've never have been. I'm not curious. Don't want anybody going there. Don't want to go there with anybody else. Just not my thing. All right. If that's what people want to do, though, that's their business. I don't judge, but not me. What I'm saying, though, is that's why I'm clarifying this story without trying to be gross. Okay. But back in 2012, it was happening like that. And it was literally the point where I was about to pass out. Like, I thought like, oh my God, like having a baby or something like that, because my stomach was in such a horrible state. But in nearly passing out, this is when you actually experience what a person does during the Kundalini, if they activate it in that region, just to be real with you. So I got it a different way. And this is when I experienced some full on, like, an intense psychoenergetic experience where I saw my whole timeline, and this other woman I witnessed her dropping into 1985 and walking into my body back on the farm that I was in. And it happened at this moment. That's the only reason, guys, that I went there and even told you about the BM thing. And I'm really sorry that I went there. But if I didn't tell you about that, as embarrassing as it is, this wouldn't make as much sense to those who understand how you achieve the Kundalini. It's done through that in many cases. Not everybody though. Okay. And again, but it'll send like this weird burst of energy up and down all your chakras. And that's what I experienced. It's just like this full, like a rocket goes through your skull and everything else like that. And you nearly pass out. And that's when I saw her, and I was like, and it happened. Like, it's weird how it happens. Like, you'll experience all of it in a very short amount of time, but it'll feel like you did have a much longer duration experience in that very brief moment. So it may have only been a split second, but to you, it'll feel exponentially longer. And it was in that moment that I witnessed her dropping into more than that timeline. And it occurred to me that she was a person that had kind of taken care of me and kept an eye on me and guided me a little bit from the sidelines. And then once I understood that, then it was just a really weird thing, you know, like I didn't know what to do about it, because how do you explain that? But I understood everything. It's like I got the whole bit of information at that moment to where I really understood it. And then I actually had an opportunity at some point, you know, to verify if some of it might actually be true. And it's happening in a way. It's some events that are going to happen like in 1985, they're going to start like in 2022 or 2023. And then something that happens in that year is going to happen as a result of dropping in, using sensory deprivation and other techniques, doing some degree of what's called time reassignment, similar to what they do in source code. And so that's kind of what I was being given as information, is like, that's what some of us are involved in, is that we have this ability to do some of these things a lot like that movie, but without the death component. Your brain doesn't have to be dead. There's other ways to achieve the same results that they got in source code. And that if you're a person that is an adept at this, then yeah, they're going to want to do things for you to help. And so I volunteered, you know, I said, well, I'd like to help if I can, but I just don't want to be used and abused. I don't want people to use me for something that I don't want to be a part of, you know, or wouldn't feel comfortable in. And so I guess that's where it all gets super challenging, is that, you know, if you don't know that a person is solid on these things, that they're going to be okay, and that they're, you know, you take a huge risk in integrating people relative to this, because if they drop out of something and it's timeline related and you need them for something, and, you know, can you see how messy this is? And so, you know, when somebody says, what do we do? I would say, if you take me seriously, then also take seriously the concept that time is no longer a static concept, and you're just going to have to learn to adjust to that and create new ways of perceiving time. You don't have to, like, you know, go into a new religion or anything like that. That's not what I'm telling people. It's just that understand that now you need to at least entertain the option that these things are going on, that people have technology somewhere else, either on another timeline or another space time or dimension relative to here, and they send things to us and warn us. If you can accept that it's possible at least, then what you're going to be doing in the metaphysical realm is going to be even more powerful, because you're tapping into more than what's just going to occur within this physical reality. Now you're actually, you're working on a harmonic of your other selves, because now it's like the Mandelbrot, you know, there's another one of you someplace that exists in a slightly different way. Now you can tap into that form of you. There's a cybernetic link there. There's another you. There's another you that's probably another race or another gender or another species, or maybe even a plant or something like that, you know, and another harmonic somewhere else. And you can call upon that. That's another spot out there somewhere within these realms and cycles of energy or dimensions, whatever you want to call them, where you're also existing and you can tap into. I'm really not trying to get that weird about it though, guys. I just, to me, just focusing on, like, if you have a person that's bothering you, to try to envision them from your heart chakra, to say, okay, I just want to see that person surrounded with light, even if they're a person that you hate. And the reason why, and again, I thought I was doing this like Anton Wilson, but this wasn't his meditation exercise. So I guess I might have co-opted, or maybe I got it from somebody else, or made it up. But to me, the exercise of imagining, taking part of his heart chakra exercise and saying like, okay, you meditate on the idea that the person that's bothering you right now, that you're surrounding them with a bright, healing light. And I think that that's a nice thing to do, because you're not really stripping that person of their will to be who they are. The light is just simply either shining it on their activity, or if they want to accept the energy, then yeah, they'll accept the energy, and it'll bring them healing. It'll bring them understanding and that kind of thing, without it being, quote, an invasion of their metaphysical space. That way, you're not like trying to jam them. You're not trying to get in their head. And for the record, guys, if you've, I've had people say these things, just so you know, I don't do that to people. Okay. I don't consciously try to get inside people's heads. I don't consciously do things to manipulate people's will within the astral realm. And I don't try to do anything like that. If anything, I try to give people some reassurances that, a lot of times people give me a lot more credit than I deserve for things that I do that are even good. And I even try to tell those people that you're assigning too much to me, and you're not assigning enough to yourself. Within the metaphysical, you're giving me all this credit because you're watching me, and you're giving away your power. In a way, I just want them to know sometimes they're giving it to me. And I appreciate it, but don't. I mean, really, co-create with me, but you don't have to give your energy to me. You don't have to give your power to me. That's not what I'm looking for you to do. I'm asking you to take ownership of it for yourself, and to balance with it, to learn the art of energy balancing relative to geographic locations. Then you can get into the higher order responsibility of areas that have been, well, let me give you an example. Like maybe the reason why Wallowa Lake is experiencing some of the energy events that it is relative to me is because I understand this. It's an area where Chief Joseph was residing, and Chief Joseph experienced a lot of trauma there. His entire tribe lost their native lands, and they were put on railroad cars and shipped off to places, and many of them died because the conditions were horrible in the travel. And the treaties were all not honored, and it was really bad for Chief Joseph's tribe. It was he's a fierce warrior though, and he defended his land for a very long time, and he was considered a pretty honorable person in the Nez Perce tribe. But yeah, they really screwed him and his people over, and that happened in that same region where all these weird psychoenergetic events are happening. And Chief Joseph, by the way, has a 33 number association also, which I thought was super interesting. Like a 1933 or 33 years old. There's something that was like 33 with him as well. I'm like, wow, now everything that lines up in Wallowa Lake is a 33 association. Well, that's an interesting, that's an interesting hypothesis about Antarctica, Lisa, or Tracy, sorry. That's trippy. Because I've done a lot of research into radiosondes. That was actually what got me started on a lot of this, just so you know. In fact, Tracy, if you want to learn more about radiosondes, or you maybe already know, but you may want to go to my controlled offensive behavior playlist, and my entire first report, like part 1 of that series, is about radiosonde technology. And that might be something you'd be interested in, because I do think that there's something relative to Antarctica that is completely misunderstood, that I don't think it's actually like this great big landmass. I think that what you're looking at with Antarctica is an ionospheric shelf that prevents anything from leaving. but I don't think it's landmass. I think it's been whisked into a frozen ice shelf that's become a large landmass. I think that if you were to really drill down, yeah, I mean, there's probably rock or whatever, just like there is anywhere else in the earth, but you're probably going to see a huge portal. It's going to be like, you know, where the poles are relative. We're existing really in a vesica Pisces, that when we unpackage this vesica Pisces, it's more of a sphere. And because we're not I think if we were to perceive Earth correctly, we would actually see the two other spheres that generate the one that we exist in. That's all. It's a trinity. I think there's something about that where it's less that it's an actual continent, and it's more that the land is a ring that goes around like a shelf, and that everything that you're really seeing in the center there has been through the whisking of all of the water and how cold it is down there, and it just turned it into a huge landmass. But if it were actually accurately represented as real land and not just what's water and ice, it would be more of a hole leading into the toroids, the torus, or the toroid, or whatever you want to call it. That's all. Oh, okay. So then you found my radio sonde information that way. So trippy. Okay. All right. So then Tracy, what you might want to do then, if you're on that path, is look deeper into Preston Nichols' material. That book in particular has some information. You know, look, Preston Nichols' books are, I don't know what to make of them all the time, because they feel like they're half science fiction and they're half complete reality. And since a lot of books that are presented as 100% reality don't even have 10%, I can't recommend them. But Preston Nichols' book, even if it's like part science fiction, there's no questioning the real data in them, because I researched it and it's genuine. He gave real numbers. So man, that's all right. This totally makes sense then. Whoever did that with DNA and radio sondes knows what the hell they're doing. And yeah, that would create all kinds of weird shit going on with all of us communicating between one another. But you know what I think that's really about? I think it's about hiving together our common frequencies to create a frequency band. What if humans are generating frequencies that are being repurposed for communications? Did that ever occur to you? If we're bringing the earth into physical reality, then aren't we bringing all the frequencies that are available above through radio frequency also into reality? It's at least a combination of us and the universal plasma field that we're contributing to, and we're just a part of that. So I don't know. That's something to think about big time, I would say, definitely. It's something good to share. So I'm glad you did. You might be interested in, then, if you're really looking into these weird like spirals and loops and why you're experiencing synchronicities relative to that, then you might want to look into, oh shit, it just flew out of my head. Oh, I hate when that happens, man. Oh no, okay, here it is. Someone actually encouraged me last summer to read this, and I still haven't read it all the way through. But Preston Nichols' book, it's called like Music in Time. Let me make sure I have that right. But she recommended it to me, and I didn't read it until, like, I don't know, I was like on an airplane and on my way someplace, and I couldn't believe how it had so much information. The Music of Time. Again, treat the book like his story about how it all happened. Don't focus on that as much as my personal opinion. You can do what you want to if you decide to read it. But yeah, but that to me explains a lot of the, in a very simple way. I was already like researching things that just happened to like synchronize to what he had in his book, which says to me that probably whatever intuitions that I had probably might have come from Preston Nichols' research at the Space-Time Laboratory in Cairo, New York, many years ago, and it's just recirculating because he's in the universal plasma field. Preston's still out there. His energy isn't gone. Yeah, he passed away physically, but that guy was doing so many experiments with those antennas in Cairo. Literally, guys, he lived in a town named Cairo, for Christ's sake, and it was not Egypt, it was New York. But that's where all of his weird antennas were. He had like a Delta T antenna that was like a square mounted like two pyramids like this, and broadcast in this really funky pattern and did all kinds of strange things. I mean, he was into the Montauk chairs, which again, you want to talk about a real concept, folks. You want to really do some deep things, man. Make yourself something similar to a Montauk chair. For me, the way I was able to replicate things similar to it, not to, I'm sure to the same degree, but was just to put in those like plunger style earphones and then listen to some songs that are really, really loud using that method, and to tune out while doing that, but also shine a really bright light, which the more I think about it, I don't know where the hell I think it got ruined in the fire. That's right. Shit. I had a great light that was for this. It was for mood, you know, like if you don't get a lot of sunlight. I lived in Portland, you know, so you know, I would put this canister light up and everything like that, and it would shine a bright light in my face that was healthy, you know, so I could get more sunlight than Portland would offer. But I use that and loud music with headphones on that, you know, a lot of times it had like loops and repetitions to it, beats and things like that. And then I sometimes, this would get me into a pattern where for some reason I would start doing this with my hands, and I would close my eyes and I'd start getting this like, and then something about the way that when my hands followed the vibration of the music, and I would follow the beats like this, and I would kind of do this, and I would get into a really meditative state. Like for me, that's very meditative. That's very prayer-like, getting into music that way, the way that I do it. And yeah, I could experience some really strange things. I get a lot of information in that brainwave state too, because I think that what I'm doing there is, it's a little bit like the prayer and meditation thing, but it's more in the order of the orgasm without the orgasm. Listening to the music and the repetition, it's the same spectrum of POR radiation. It's just the more active form of it, exercise, I guess, oriented, but stationary and with vibrations and light added to it. Very effective at going into different brainwave states and achieving different things at different levels. Well, that's really interesting because, yeah, I heard they put the Ark of Gabriel in Antarctica. So Tracy, what you're talking about here may be like one of the hidden pieces of information relative to that whole narrative. Seriously, because it just occurred to me, I thought the whole Ark of Gabriel thing felt like it was more of a metaphor for something else. So if what you're saying is that they're literally transmitting DNA with radiosondes, that totally makes sense. I just don't think it's for good reasons is the problem. I think that they might be doing it for negative reasons, but it's going to backfire on them. It won't work. I mean, if it's designed to tear down our blood groups or our DNA, it won't work. And I think that would be its intention. Well, not if they put our DNA in there. If they're putting our DNA in there, they're not forecasting. See, that's what a radiosonde is supposed to do. It's weather modification and weather forecasting, and because weather balloons can do both, and radiosondes can do both. And keeping in mind too that even though they say it's for weather forecasting, I mean, what you're really doing is you're sending up a beacon on a weather balloon, and you're transmitting these frequencies that, in my understanding, they're pretty close to like 1680, 1680 megahertz. And I've measured those before too, and I don't see how they're coming from balloons. That's all. I just that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I accept though that the data though, you know, that there's something transmitting because I've measured it. Sorry, I'm getting some stuck in my throat. Well, guys, I did a few hours earlier today, so I'm going to close up here in a couple minutes, unless you guys have something more that you wanted to talk about relative to this whole thing, but I here's the deal, guys. Anybody that is capable, I would really appreciate some extra support. Anybody who has the ability to do it in a significant way or get me out of this situation, even better. I just kind of need some sponsorship in various ways, and I've just been putting some feelers out. Unfortunately, it tends to, there's been some very nice offers, folks, and I want you to know, don't take it personal if I can't accept them. I'm in a weird situation right now because I have every single belonging that I own, and I have no way of transporting it around independently. I have to rent cars. I would have to go rent a storage unit. And every time if I'd thought about these things and I thought I was ever going to get to this position, and I should have planned better. I've never been in a situation where I literally have everything that I own, which is very little, just sitting here in a freaking closet in a hotel and no car of my own to get it around in. So if tomorrow I'm forced to turn in my rental car, which I'm probably going to if I can't raise some money, then I'm going to have no place to store my things in about 2 days of a hotel and nothing to take my shit out of here with afterwards. Not a good situation to be in. So I'm just asking if some folks, I don't know how I'm going to do it, put our heads together or whatever, but I can't be here. Not unless I can get sponsored here and people want me to stick around and do some energy balancing, but I just can't do it independently. This is not a place I can afford. And the opportunities that I have right now, they can take my financial burdens off, are nowhere near Las Vegas. I've had multiple offers to go to different places, but they're all several states away. And again, they would require me taking significant travels with all my belongings, which I cannot put on an airplane. And I don't have my own car. That's my position, folks. So I'm not trying to put anybody in a state of panic or make them worry excessively about me or anything else like that. I'm just letting you know that I'm better when I can focus on doing the energy work and the energy balancing, and I'm not stressed. And I get it, guys. Everybody in the world's got this shit going on. Gabe is not special. He's not a unique little snowflake that requires special treatment. I understand. And I don't think of myself that way. I'm asking those that understand what I can do that, what would you like to do? And how can we make that work? If I can entertain some of these other offers, guys, I'll consider it. It's a very, very, some of these things are just too far for me to travel right now. That's all. It's not that they're not considerate or appealing offers or anything like that. It's just, it's a very huge risk for me right now to do that. And I'll consider it if it gets down to that, just so you know. So, and then anybody else, if you'd like to consult with me or do any consulting sessions or coaching sessions or things of that nature, I would encourage you to contact me in the contact details below, and we can schedule something. Or if you'd like to do a contribution, this would be a great time, because really, folks, this is kind of crunch time for me as far as meeting my financial obligations, and I could really use that extra boost. So thank you very much for joining, everybody. I really do appreciate your time. And please feel free to, contact me in the details below, and we can have a conversation. So, all right. Good night.